Hey, pre-calc. I was doing an example for your Google Classroom assignment, and I realized it'd probably be helpful if I did a video on this. So since it's better to do videos that are shorter, we might have to do a few videos to actually get through this one problem. So fear not, there will be multiple videos for this problem. Okay, so matrices can help us solve a system of equations, and this is my equation from last week's word problem. So this is actually from Taco Bell. I think this was like 7 tacos, 3 burritos, and 1 nacho equaled $26.49. I think so. I have it written down somewhere. But to solve this, so to figure out what the price of each taco is, what the price of each burrito is, what the price of each nacho is, we need to get into this form where we'd have 1 taco and 0 other things, and we would have the price of that thing. Same with this, we would have 0 tacos, 1 burrito, 0 nachos, and we'd have the price for that thing. So we want to get in this form, and we can do multiple things. We can switch the equation, so we can put this row in the second place and this row in the first place. That's not changing anything and just making our life maybe a little bit easier. Or we can like subtract 2 rows or add 2 rows. We can even multiply a row by a number, or we could actually combine all of those things to get and manipulate what we want to get to here. Now, there are many different ways to actually get here. You can do them in different steps. And some ways are longer, some ways are shorter. Sometimes you don't really know until you get going. But generally, what you're gonna do is do anything you can to get this first number a 1. And then you're gonna do what you can do to get these zeros. And then you're gonna move on to the next column. You want a 0, 1, a 0, and so on. But sometimes if you see something that might be faster, you can do that as well. As long as you play legal math things, then you're golden. Okay, so what I first wanted to do is I want to get this 7 to become a 1. And I looked down here and I thought, well, I could maybe use 2. I can multiply it by 3 to get a 6. And then I could subtract that. 7 minus 6 got me to 1. So that's what I'm going to do here. And in each of these rows, I'm kind of write out what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the 7 and I'm going to subtract that 3rd row multiplied by 3. And that'll get me my new row 1. That's what this is saying. And that kind of helps me with each of my steps. So that's what I did. And I underlined this with orange. And then I put this 3 times row 3 underneath it, just so I don't have to do so much mental math and remember all these numbers. So I wrote it down somewhere so that I could actually just do 7 minus 6, 3 minus 15, 1 minus 6, and so on. So yeah, so this orange correlates to this, so I just multiplied this row by 3 and got this orange, and then I subtracted row 1 minus this business, and I got my new row 1, which was 1, negative 12, negative 5, and I did this on my calculator, negative 54, 84. So I'm going to continue this. I got my 1 right here, but now I want zeros right here. So this is kind of nice because I have a 1 here. So what I can do is I can multiply this top row by 4 and then subtract these 2 rows, because 4 minus 4 would get me 0. So once I got my 1 here, it's kind of easier to get what I want to do because I can just multiply by that number and subtract them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to say 4 times row 1 and then subtract row 2 to get my new row 2, which was 0. So I did 4 times row 1, I got 4, subtracting row 2, which is 4, and I'm getting my new row 2, which is 0. So I'm going to do that multiple times. And again, I don't want to do so much mental math, so I underlined this with blue. So I'm multiplying my row 1 by 4, and I'm putting that right above it just so I have it for reference. That's not my new row 1. It is just for reference so I can subtract it with row 2. So I multiplied 1 by 4, negative 12 by 4, negative 5 by 4, negative 54 by 4. Now I'm going to subtract it with row 2. So 4 minus 4 is 0. Negative 48, negative 48 minus 0 is negative 48. Negative 20 minus 3 is negative 23. And negative 219 minus 18 is negative 237. So there I got my 0 right here. I just need to do one more 0. I'm going to kind of do the same thing. So I'm going to take that row 1, because it's a 1, it's super nice, multiply it by 2. I'm going to multiply this guy by 2 and then subtract it with my row 3, and I should get my new row 3. But I'm going to do that with a color here. So I'm going to multiply 2 by all the row 1 numbers. So I've got 2. Got negative 24, got negative 10. I'm going to multiply this by 2. Got my calculator here. 54.84 times 2. I've got negative 109.68. Now I'm going to just subtract this number, or I probably should put it up here. It's okay. With row 3. Row 3. So 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Negative 24 minus 5 is negative 29. Negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. And I do negative 109.68 minus 27. My calculator here. Minus 27. I've got negative 136.79. Awesome. Okay, so I've got my 1, 0, 0. In my next video, I'm going to move over to the next column and get a 0, 1, 0.